Hey guys, this is WRockMSK here, back with another video, and this is a requested video from Noah Clark. He asked me to do my top 10 wrestlers who have passed away. This list some people may not agree with, and some people may, so just remember this is all my opinion. It's not by, championship wins and how their career was. This is just who I personally think were the top 10 wrestlers that I enjoyed passed away. Starting off number 10, Umaga. Starting to get into wrestling, one of my first DVDs ever was One Night Stand Extreme Rules 2008, where Jeff Hardy and Umaga had that awesome Falls Count Anywhere match. That match was one of my favorite ones to ever watch, and from that point on I went back and watched more Umaga matches, and I personally became a really big fan of him, and that's the reason why he's at number 10 is because he was one of the wrestlers that got me started into looking back into the older years of WWE, even though 08 and 07 was really old when I started watching 2010, but that still just got me back to watching the older stuff. Number 9 is Mr. Perfect, which is Curtis Axel's father. Mr. Perfect he was from the 80s and the 90s. He came out with a persona of everything he did was perfect. He won the Intercontinental Championship. I don't believe he ever won the WWE Championship, but his in-ring performance was amazing. It was like perfect. Really was, even though he said he was Mr. Perfect. I mean, you watch one of his matches, and I never watched a boring Mr. Perfect match, to be completely honest with you, and that's why he made my list, because I can sit back and watch a match from him from the 80s and be like, damn, that was an awesome match. And I watched his whole DVD, the Lifetime of Mr. Perfect, I think is what it's called, and it was a really great set, and I've watched it a couple times since I've gotten it. To me, he's just one of those wrestlers that I personally enjoy from the 80s and the 90s. I can sit back and watch. Number 8 is the British Bulldog. Another one of those wrestlers that I've watched that I just personally enjoy. He was great when he came out with the Heart Foundation for a little while. He played a perfect character, honestly. His wrestling ability was... it was like the Heart Foundation, pretty much. It was close to perfection. Every single one of his matches, he put together a lot of effort in it. His charisma was great. I love when he came out with the Bulldogs for a little bit there. They even have a couple of his just outfits. Even his outfits made, like, just watching him, because he had the beads in his hair and he had the big rope on, and he really kind of put out a performance every single time he stepped into the ring. Number 7 is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. I personally haven't watched a lot of Dusty Rhodes matches. I don't even own his DVD set, but to me, I put him on this list because he's the person that I can watch his promos, and his promos are amazing. I love his promos. But to see him work with NXT and really develop talent and everything like that, I mean, his backstage segment before he passed away with Stardust and Goldust, he still proved that he had what it takes to cut promos. And even in the years when he wasn't wrestling and he was backstage, he still did a lot of great things. So the reason I put him on my list is because he was big with helping NXT, even though I never watched him, really wrestle. That's the reason why he's on my list, just for his promos and his NXT work. Okay. Number 6 is the Ultimate Warrior. This one a lot of people usually put up a lot higher on his list, but to be honest, the Ultimate Warrior had a couple great matches. I mean, against Hulk Hogan, title versus title. That was one of his main Mania matches. He beat the Honky Tonk Man for the title, which was then, like, unheard of for the Honky Tonk Man to lose his title. He had the amazing entrance where he just ran to the ring. You had the fireworks go off, and every now and then they'd have pyro that made his little face paint. But Ultimate Warrior was the end all be all of a character. A guy that you look forward to, you just watch and you're like, oh, there's a warrior. He acted like a warrior, he was a warrior. His gear was amazing. I mean, all the ropes he wore, the details on him, those were awesome. He had a thing which a lot of wrestlers still do, like Batista did, when he went and shook the ropes. That lives on still to this day. I mean, he was an awesome performer. He made a couple bad business decisions by leaving WWE and then going to WCW, and don't even bother talking about Warrior in WCW. So overall, I'm glad that he ended his career with the Hall of Fame and coming back right before he passed away. So that's going to be Ultimate Warrior number 6. Number 5 is the Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah. He passed away the day I went to a NXT house. No, it wasn't NXT. A TNA house show. I was just listening to the radio, and then there was like, Macho Man Randy Savage passed away in a car accident, and I was like, damn, like, I just got his DVD set and I finished watching it, and then to see him pass away was really sad on my, just to hear about it. But his character over the years, I mean, he, of course, all the guys from the 80s, you always compare them to Hulk Hogan because Hulk Hogan was the guy, but you think about Macho Man, you think about one match. And I'm not talking about the macho powers or the mega powers with him and Hulk Hogan or any of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about WrestleMania 3. That match, to this day, is always voted in the top 5 matches ever put on by WWE. And he put his legacy in that match. To me, him and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in that match made it so cruiserweights today can have a shot. Made it for people like Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, guys that aren't these huge buff men that weigh 300 pounds can get into the business today and make it happen. And that's the reason why Macho Man's so high up on my list, because he really made high flying something different. And that's what I loved about him. I mean, on top of his character and his awesome entrance attire, of course, Macho Man was one of the greats. Him in at number 4 is Roddy Piper. This guy, I mean, you can't say enough about him. I mean, his promos are impeccable. That's what everyone remembers him for. I mean, you had the, whatever you just call it, Hot Rod Show, Piper Spit, there we go. That was one of the best segments ever made. It was something where if he didn't wrestle, you looked forward to the Piper Spit. I mean, still when he came back for WWE Old School and they announced that, everyone was talking about that. It didn't matter what the main event was. No one cared for that. But Piper Spit was coming back, man, you gotta turn in to watch that. That was the thing. He drew you in just with his charisma and his ability to cut promos. He was, even though he wasn't the greatest in-ring performer, everyone knows that, but his charisma and ability to cut promo was unlike any other. And that's why he's so high up on my list at number 4. Number 3, I mean, they're going to get backlash. People are going to agree with me. Chris Benoit. I am not going to say anything personally. That has nothing to do with his personal life and why he's on my list. Just putting that out there now. The reason he is in my list is because of his wrestling ability alone. He was one of the greatest wrestlers to come out. The greatest ones to come out from the 1990s to start out with his career. He went from Mexico to Japan, WCW. He even had good matches in WCW, which is rare to find. And then he came to WWE, WrestleMania 20. The moment where we all remember Eddie winning the title, because WWE doesn't want you to remember Chris Benoit winning the title, but you do. How do you forget Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit? The moment when he finally, after months of being told no, he won the title. You can't outlive that moment. And then he won the 2004 Royal Rumble, which if you look into the history books, apparently Eddie Guerrero won that one. Didn't even know that one, did you? No? Chris Benoit won. And for his legacy to be erased, to me, I don't agree with it, but he is one of the best wrestlers there ever will be. I mean, you get some of the older DVDs, he had incredible ladder matches with Chris Jericho, he had tag teams, and his legacy is huge. And if you don't know his legacy, I suggest, it's all on the WWE Network, shockingly, go back and watch Chris Benoit match. Forget who he is as a person, and just watch him for his wrestling ability. Number 2, Owen Hart. Owen Hart, the greatest Hart. I'm going to say he's better than Bret. A lot of people are not going to agree with that, but I think he's better than Bret, honestly. His brother versus brother matches, the way he always put himself as the underdog coming up and always leaving the moral of you talk backstage, you're nice as backstage person, you're nice in person, and you never took anything for granted. That's who he was. And the best part about him is you ask any WWE superstar and they can come up with like 5 stories that will make you laugh your ass off. And that's the best thing about Owen, is you never hear anything bad about him. He was great in the ring, great as a character. The way he went out was tragic and completely wrong that he changed into this whatever character he was, but he should not have been that character. And see him go out, the reason why he was that character is because he didn't want his face known with the Attitude Era, because he didn't agree with it. And some wrestlers didn't, and he was just one of them. He wanted pure wrestling. And at the Attitude Era time, you weren't getting pure wrestling, and we all knew that. But Owen Hart, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and that's why he makes number 2. Number 1 on the list, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He comes in my top 3 every single time I make a list. This is Viva la Raza, Eddie Guerrero. You can't touch Eddie. Eddie is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's one of the greatest on the mics. He's one of the greatest in-ring characters. He's a guy that 10, 15 years from now, people are still going to say they got into the wrestling business due to Eddie Guerrero. I mean, look at Sasha Banks. It's the only reason we have her is because of Eddie Guerrero. To me, you have Latino heat. You had him in Chavo, and holy crap, are those segments amazing. Just to see them go and be stupid. Eddie brought in the way to be fun in the ring, and have a match where everyone got involved. We all know he was gonna lie, cheat, and steal his way to the victory 90% of the time, but it was a way that he did it that made you watch. Even though, I mean, he was one of the greatest in-ring wrestlers. His wrestling, just grappling, was amazing. I mean, he faced Kurt Angle toe-to-toe in a wrestling match. Like high school, college wrestling. Not like the High Flying Suns, just that. And he went toe-to-toe with Kurt Angle. And that shows something. He could do the high flying. I mean, his finisher was a frog splash, which we all know. And a lot of people still do the, I think they call it Three Amigos, which is 3 suplexes in a row, not letting go of your opponent. People still do that to today as a tribute to Eddie. The frog splash, 90% of the time people do it. That's a tribute to Eddie as well. Eddie was a guy who made his mark on the business and never let it go. And if you've never seen an Eddie match, you're missing out on one of the best wrestlers who ever lived, in my opinion. So yeah, these are my top 10 wrestlers who passed away. Go over it. Number 10, Umaga. Number 9, Mr. Perfect. Number 8, the British Bulldogs. Number 7, Dusty Rhodes. Number 6, the Ultimate Warrior. Number 5, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Number 4, Roddy Piper. Number 3, Chris Benoit. Number 2, Owen Hart. And number 1, Eddie Guerrero. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. As always, more to come.